They be wrecking. A picture is worth 1,000 words. This fight was billed as the biggest fight since Leonard Hearns. I think on paper it was a 50-50 fight. I mentioned it in my last video. I picked Bud not because I thought that he would win or dominate, because I know that none of us seen this level of domination coming. But I picked him because most people were picking Earl. And I like both fighters equally. So I didn't have one over the other. My brother thought that I was favoring Bud, but I did pick him because of the fact that most people were picking Earl. But I told my brother that difference with Bud is that he's able to fight off of his back foot. And he has the ability to, as he's backing up and you are throwing a punch, to land a punch when you least expect it. And he's able to see off of that punch that he throws, if that punch affects you, he plants that back foot and comes forward when you think that you are gaining ground on him. And so he kept Earl off balance all night. The first round I gave to Earl. I didn't give him a round after the first. Earl looked shook after that second round knockdown. He was surprised. I mean, everybody, I think, was surprised. Earl went down for the first time. And on his face, it looked like he realized, you know you done fucked up now, right? It looks like that came over his face, but then he mustered up the energy, he mustered up whatever he had in him, and the next round, he came out trying to impose his will. But as the third round waned, Bud began to execute his game plan at a high level. Earl had no answers, man. It was complete domination in every aspect of the fight. They say the greats make it look easy. It's levels to this. It was a master class. He dominated, speaking of Bud Crawford, dominated every single aspect of the fight. He was the faster fighter. He showed the higher ring IQ. He showed more power than Earl. His accuracy was better than Earl. His footwork was better than Earl. His range was better than Earl. His counter punching was better than Earl. There's no aspect of the boxing game. It's not a game, Earl. Floyd Mayweather said it's not a game, right? It's not a game. But he showed that there's no part of the art of boxing that he could do better than Bud in this particular fight. He didn't show none of that. I honestly don't see a need for a rematch. It was too much of a domination. When you had Leonard Hearns, a rematch could have been justified because it was a back and forth fight. But this wasn't a back and forth fight. This wasn't a back and forth fight. He dominated every single aspect of the fight. Bud Crawford, without question, is pound for pound the number one fighter on the planet. Bar none. It was a fish fry. He bought his fish net. He caught him the big fish. And to be honest, it hurt me to see a champ go out like that, in that fashion. A fight billed a 50-50 fight. I was like, man, I felt bad for Earl. I honestly felt bad for Earl to see him go out like that. Man, I mean, his face looked like he made Ugas' face look. It wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty, man. And when you see that type of domination, when you see that type of greatness, especially when you build the opposing fighter, the opposing champion, Earl Spence, as a top 3 pound for pound fighter, it's without question you are an all-time great. When you can dominate a top 10 pound for pound fighter the way Bud did, it's without question you an all-time great. he made it look like Earl was an average fighter. This was a fighter that had 3 of the welterweight belts, the Glamour division, the biggest division in boxing right now. And on many people's card, the best welterweight was Earl Spence. But Bud made it look easy. The man that was billed to be the bigger fighter, the stronger fighter, was not the stronger fighter. He was not the one landing the power punches. Earl did not seem like he affected Bud with any of his punches. And almost every time Bud got a clean shot on Earl seemed affected. Especially after that first knockdown. Every punch was devastating, man. It seemed like every punch that Bud landed was devastating. Also, Bud had supreme defense. This is where I thought that if Earl was going to win, this is where he was going to get him at, because Bud is a fiery fighter. If you hit him, he's going to come back and start swinging. No matter if you keep hitting him, he's going to keep swinging. And if Earl was going to win, I thought that that's how he would win the fight. But Bud's game plan was on A1. He was defensive. A defensive Bud like this in his prime, he can't lose, man. I don't see anybody beating him if he's defensive like he was. He was determined. I mean, he eliminated the jab of Earl Spence. That's Earl Spence's go-to. That's Earl Spence's go-to is the jab. He works everything off of that jab, and it was nullified. The jab of Earl Spence was nullified. It was negated. It was eliminated. He took away Earl's best strengths. He took away his two aspects of Earl's fighting, jabs and body punches. And he breaks you down over time. But Bud eliminated the jab, therefore the body shots that comes off of Earl's jabs was eliminated. And Bud's defense was impeccable. That's facts. The man Earl, Slim, you don't want a rematch. You got to go back to the drawing board. The man is just on another level. That's what it is, folks. We are officially in the Bud Crawford era. Hit like and subscribe if you like this type of commentary. They be wrecking.